if I wanted to research the restaurant industry to find out what's going on, because let's say I'm an accountant who serves restaurant industry clients, well, the internet is a wonderful place where I can do lots of research. And one of the core focuses right here at BetweenWall and Main.com is to understand what's happening on Wall Street and how that impacts us here on Main Street. And so if I'm an accountant or bookkeeper who serves clients in the restaurant industry, I might want to take some time to do some research and understand what's happening in the restaurant industry on Wall Street and start to understand how that impacts me here on Main Street. So I'm going to give you this very specific example, picking on the restaurant industry. Now, of course, the first thing I did was I Googled publicly traded restaurants, and I found this article that was written just within the last week of, exactly a week ago as of the day I'm recording this, right? September 15th, 2016 is when it was written. And it's a list of publicly traded restaurants. So I said, great, let me start doing some research. Now, for some reason, when I searched Benihana, I couldn't come up with very much of anything. So I went on to BJ's, and I was curious, so I looked up BJ's, and I looked it up in Google Finance, and I looked it up on the Wall Street Journal. And I started seeing information that was interesting. I started to see a sharp decline in their stock starting in August. And so then I went down in here and I said, all right, well, let's look at the news, right? And then this article caught my attention. There is a recession coming, and it could be the worst ever for restaurant stocks. Now, this was from July 27th. So I clicked over. It's on MarketWatch. And I read this. And, what I get out of this right off the bat, before I even really read the article, is that on July 27th, this guy very accurately predicted what was coming. Now, what else concerns me are some of these other articles that I'm reading that just came out today. The dollar is going to stay weak, right? That's this article right here on Bloomberg. Then I found this article here also on Bloomberg that talks about how the consumer comfort gauge has fallen to the lowest since mid-December. So the lowest since right before this year. Consumer comfort has dropped. Let me close that because we're getting videos playing on these sites. That's so annoying. So what I'm starting to see here is that the street, Wall Street, seems to be predicting a poor outlook, at least in the near term, for restaurants. Consumer confidence is down. Consumer comfort is down. The dollar is expected to stay weak. Now, let's give this some context. If I have a high-end restaurant, that's probably not going to be impacted because the kind of clientele that patronize a high-end restaurant are people who are wealthy, who make a lot of money, who probably don't care if the dollar is a little weak. So we're looking at the lower to middle tier restaurant, consumer who are going to be affected by this, who are going to be the ones who are going to be inclined to say, you know what, money's a little tight right now. The dollar, they're not going to necessarily think of it in terms of the fact that the dollar is weaker. They're just going to feel the effects of the dollar being weaker. Their money is not going to go as far. Gas prices are going to go up. Food prices at the grocery store might go up. Other things that impact how much discretionary income they have to spend. One of the first places they're going to pull back on their spending is going out to eat. It's not a necessity. It's a luxury. Right? So it's a question of thinking in terms of what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the market, using the Wall Street level companies that are in this industry as a gauge. And now I want to challenge you as the accountant or bookkeeper who may be watching this. Look at your restaurant industry clients. Run a monthly P&L for this whole year to date. So every month of this year, I want to look at their sales, January through the end of August, right? Let's say September's not done yet, and look at the trend in their sales. I'd be curious to see if you find that there's a decline starting around the month of August in their sales. If what they experience, your restaurant clients locally, the small business restaurants, if they're experiencing anything similar in pattern to what BJ's restaurants has experienced here. The other thing on this MarketWatch article, and the links are all there in the article that you're reading, you can look at some of the other big restaurant companies that are out there. Chipotle, Darden Restaurants, which it looks like, I haven't confirmed this, but just looking at the news that's related to this, it looks like maybe they own Olive Garden. I'm not sure if that's true, though. I haven't actually researched that. Panera Bread, just ate there the other night. Cheesecake Factory, right? So look at some of these major restaurant retail companies and look at their stock charts. Look them up on the Wall Street Journal, right? These aren't made up numbers. These are actual numbers. They don't lie about this stuff. But compare the patterns of their stock trading, their stock price, to the patterns that you see in the sales of your customers. You can also get the financials for these companies. Any major company, if I Google BJ's financial statements, you'll get them. So that's for BJ's Wholesale Club, not BJ's Restaurants. So make sure you're getting, here's annual reports for BJ's Restaurant and Brew House, right? Investor relations, income statement, Yahoo Finance, perfect, right? So you can, and I do this a lot, analyze these companies' sales patterns, right? They're going to obviously have a lot more in sales than your clients do. It's not about the number, it's about the pattern. Analyze the pattern. Compare how these companies are doing with how your client's doing. Start getting a sense of whether or not, and this is why I actually posted in our Facebook group recently a question that I wanted you to think about in terms of who are your customers' customers. Understand who your customers' customers are and how the economy is going to impact their engagement with your clients, their spending patterns. Is your client in a sector of the market where their customers are going to be inclined to pull back when the economy gets weak, when money gets tight? Those are the kinds of things you want to look at and think about. Understand the patterns. Does this impact your customers' clients? Does this impact the people who go to the restaurant that your client owns, right? Again, if it's high-end, maybe not. I was talking about this in our 97 and up call recently. If you have a client that owns a local sports bar, they might not be impacted that much by the economy because your demographic are, young people, let's say ages 25 to 50, who they don't care. They're going to go there good or bad, and because they're in there for the sports. They're diehards. They're doing their pools or whatever they do. They're going to go in there and they're going to spend money regardless of how tight money gets. So it's really important to understand the specific demographics around the customers that patronize your client's businesses, and then using that information to try and predict what their behavior will be, and then using that information to try and predict the cycles of your client's sales so that you can do a let's make history report, so that you can do a report that looks into the future and project their cash flows. That's where you're going to provide the most powerful strategic advice for your clients. As always, I hope you enjoyed this, learned something, had some fun along the way. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.